didn't know Leeor, but after spending an hour on the phone with you, it was supposed to be 5 minutes, it was an hour about life and challenges and what you wanted. I can tell you that Leeor, I'm sure her father was incredible, but having, from what I just spent a drop with you, just a drop in the bucket, with you as such an incredible person, I can only imagine who she was. And I gotta tell you, I unfortunately have had the opportunity to speak at similar type events, and with very few exceptions does the mom say, I want the speech to be about happiness. Simcha, happy, happy. Up, 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 happy. Jews should be together. And it was so refreshing and inspiring. And I am sure that Leeor is looking down from Shemayim and is so proud of you and your family and what you bring to this community. And my bracha to your family and to this community and to us as a nation is that we should only have simchas. We should never ever have people taken from us. We should only have people given to us. And the cartwheels that Leeor did on the front lawns of her house should be how we walk around. Because it's how we should walk around. And we should keep her memory with us. So the time when we get to see her again, Mashiach may come sooner our days, and may this community be at the head of the line. So you can be able to be the exemplar of what it means to live with such ahava and simcha and amunah, like you said so perfectly. And it should become sooner our days. So, Elisa mentioned the idea of simcha. You know, if you look around and you ask yourself, if you could have anything in the world, anything, right? You remember those movies when I was a kid growing up, those cartoons we used to watch, where a guy would like be lost in like an alley some way and he would see like a lamp. And imagine like walking through and then you rub the lamp and the genie comes out and the genie goes, okay, you got one wish. And you go, one? I thought it was 3 wishes. He goes, it's a recession. You got 1 wish. What would you choose? What would you choose? What in the world would be your... So if you're under the age of 5, it's 1,000,000 more wishes. But then you can't do that. It's like in the disclaimer. You can't do that. But what would you do if you had 1 wish? What would you want for your children? What is the one thing that we are all after again and again in our lives? Is it not happiness? Isn't that what we all want? Isn't that why we do the things we do? Buy the things we buy? Hope the kids go to certain places? When we go to bed at night and we hope this and we do that and we work for this, isn't what we're all doing, if you could sort of put it under one fabric, if what we're really doing is trying to get ourselves to live a life where we can touch happiness? And if we don't have that one thing, it doesn't matter what we have. Can you imagine such a sad event of somebody with everything in life and they walk around unhappy? You see them and you're like, why are you so unhappy for? You have so much. You ever see this to your kids sometimes where you take them on vacation and they're upset about something so little and you're like, are you serious? Why do we get that for? Because deep down we know that if you don't have happiness, you don't have anything. But if you have happiness, you have everything. My grandmother, she lived 120, grew up before the war. She went through the Holocaust. She grew up in a small town called Rosalvia outside Romania. And she had lived a very difficult life. She told me stories of where 6 months a year she went to another town to be a maid, and they lived in a farm, they had no bathrooms, no outhouses, they grew their foods, they made their clothes. And she said to me once, she goes, you know, Charlie, sometimes I watch older kids playing, and I gotta say, I feel bad for them. I said, how come, Bobby? She goes, I had such a hard childhood, but we were happy. Like, we were happy. I see some of the kids today, they got everything, and they're not. So how do we get happiness? So the rabbis have a couple of rules in terms of how they work. The one thing you will never see when it comes to rabbis is them telling you how to feel. It's not fair. We feel the way we feel. You're never going to find a siddur where the siddur says, like, you know, doing great, sniffle, great, if you got a cry going, 3 steps back, exit left, book of life. It doesn't work that way, right? You cry when you cry, you laugh when you laugh, it is what it is. And for the most part, the rabbis are never going to tell you when to laugh and when to smile, but there's some major exception where they do it once. Another rule that the rabbis have is you never see the rabbis telling you which are the big or small mitzvahs, right? It's not like Super Mario Brothers. We don't get like bonus points, right? We sometimes think that Judaism is like a collection of points, right? Like, you ever take your kids one time like to the fair, like to the amusement park, right? And you ever take your kids to the amusement park, and they go to the amusement park and they first get there, and like they see the huge Ferris wheel, and everything's amazing, and see the rides, and as they walk in, they see that one little like table with all the prizes, and then all of a sudden their whole face changed, and they spend the rest of the entire time taking as much money as possible to try to play as many games to get tickets. You know what I'm talking about? And they play that game that everyone hates, that rolly game that everybody hates, because that gives you the most tickets. And they create these complicated joint ventures with their cousins. And then after the entire day, they go up to the lady and they're like, here you go. She's like, wow, you have 1 million tickets. You can get a ball or a notepad, right? And the boy's like, the ball. The girl's like, notepad, ball, notepad. I hate you. You're the worst. Ball, notepad. And finally they take the ball all the way back. And on the way back to the car, like it drops in the sewer. You know what I'm talking about? Like we think we get to like Olam Haba, like after 120, and God's like, oh, Charlie, okay. Okay, well, you're not getting the suite. Like, you were a lawyer at one point, you know what I'm saying? So that out for that. We're not putting you in the basement. You have like an okay room. Okay, like we think like that's how it works. Like, I'm going to get a point for this and a point for that. If I wear tzitzis on Shabbos, I get double point value. And if I learn on Shabbos while talking to my mom while I'm eating matzah, I get triple point value for this. And we get all these points for mitzvahs, because at the end of the day of life, we go up to Hashem and as if it's a game that we're playing. We get more for this, less for this. Rabbi's like, we're not doing that. I can't tell you which has many points for what. Every mitzvah is important. Every mitzvah is big. There's no smaller or bigger thing. With one major exception. The rabbis violate these two rules. The famous Rabbi Nachman violated both these two rules. And he went on a limb to say what I think is one of the most outstanding, amazing, interesting statements in Judaism. Rabbi Nachman says, mitzvah gedola. I'm going on a limb. Usually you don't compare. I'm comparing. Usually you don't say which is bigger. I'm going there. This is a big one. Lihios, to be. Besimcha, happy. Tamid, always. There is a mitzvah, not a little mitzvah. It's a really big deal for God. We have an obligation to always be happy. I'm thinking, really, I don't know what was going on back then, rabbis, but do you live my life? But for some reason, the rabbis are saying not only is it possible, but it's obligatory for every Jew to spend their time figuring out how to be always happy. Well, how are you always happy? I've got good days and bad days like everybody else. How is that possible? So I want to tell you a story. Picture, if you will, a bunch of Israeli soldiers marching, right? They're marching through Israel. And since it's Israel, you're marching, and it's like a desert, right? And since it's Israel, like 2 steps later, like it's like a greenery, and then you're like in a shawarma stand, and then you're like you're buying t-shirts, and then you're back in a desert. It's all like within 1 block in Israel, you know what I'm talking about? So they're walking in, and they go into this area, and there's beautiful waterfalls, and they're in the desert, and they're marching. And as they're marching, they walk into this huge area, and there's this big wadi. It's filled with water, and the colonel sees his soldiers marching, and he sees that they're all so starving, and he feels bad for them. So he goes, okay, you know what? Everybody come to a halt. And they line up, and he goes, okay, you guys have 5 minutes. And they take off their shoes, they jump in, they're drinking, and they're feeling great, they're hydrating, they get back in, they're all lined up, and they keep on marching again. 2 seconds later, they're back in the desert. But one soldier was smart. He brought a cup. So he got 5 more minutes of water. Another soldier was even smarter. He brought a canteen. So he lasted a good, hour. Another soldier was even smarter. He grew up in America. You ever go to those football games in America where you get the backpacks? Because God forbid you to actually take the beer and put it into your mouth. It's too much work for a guy in America. So you have the things that go into your mouth, like an IV, just to make sure that you don't have to move your hands the entire game. He grew up in America. So he's like, wait a minute, I got the backpack. So he comes in. It lasts him like 4 hours of water. But the army is even smarter than all of them, because they know these guys are going to be marching all the way down to like Eilat. So they actually got a water tank to follow the soldiers the whole way down. What is the difference in how long the soldiers get to drink? It's not the water. There's plenty of water. The difference is in the vessel. One soldier had a cup, so that water lasted him a few more minutes. One soldier had a water tank, and it lasted him for a long time. We live in a world and we think that happiness is based on the water, the stuff. When I have happy things come to me, I'm going to feel happier. And we spend so much of our time thinking that happiness is there, and we're missing the whole point. That being happy always is not based on the water. There's plenty of water. Being happy always is based on the vessel. You build yourself a cup, then some days when you get a little happiness, it feels good, and at night, it's gone. You build yourself a canteen, then you get a little longer. If you build yourself a water tank, if your life is a life where you build a water tank, then there are times where your happiness is overflowing, but there are times where your happiness is dipping, but you are never, ever at a place where you're unhappy. The rabbis tell us all the time, and by the way, the Jewish people, if there's ever a religion that doesn't pull punches, it's us. If there's ever a religion that doesn't whitewash the truth, it's us. We have a day where we sit on the floor to remember the Beis HaMikdash that was burned thousands of years ago. And in the things that we say of that day, we're talking about times where we had so little food that moms were cooking their own children. We don't whitewash this. We remember destruction. We cry for pain. And in the moment of destruction, when we're sitting on the floor, in the middle of the month, that is remembered for all the pain we've ever felt, the rabbis teach us, Mishenichnas Av, Mematim B'Simcha. No. You don't not be happy. What are you, crazy? No. When you get to the place of destruction, when you get to the month of pain, take it down a notch. No. We don't go no water. That's crazy. We're Jews. We never, ever get to know Simcha. So there are months that's Adar, and it's awesome. You see God everywhere you are. And there are these months of Av. But in that water tank, you're always filled with water. The question of happiness is, can we build a water tank? Because if we build our lives into a water tank, then maybe we can touch what the rabbis expected of us. A life that is Simcha Tamid, that is always happy. So how do we do it? So let's delve and learn happiness the way I was taught in law school. I went to law school, and the way they taught me about life or about things is that if you can't define them right away, define what they are not, and that'll show you what they are. So let's talk about happiness from learning what it is not. I'll tell you a story. So I'm one of those guys that's like a very emotional guy. I'm an emotional Sephardi. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I'm tough, and then I'm like crying in like a minute. This is how I live. Right? I see a bird, I'll get on all four. I'm like, you can fly, you can do it. My wife's like, can you please get up on your feet? That's how I am. I'm crying all the time. When I see my kids in the morning, when they leave, I'm crying. When they come home, they're crying. That's who I am. That is what it is. My wife loves me. It's okay. When I go to like a movie with my wife to watch like some of these like loser romantic comedies, where they always break up and get back together, the whole way through, I'm a basket case. I'm like, how can he leave her? It's disgusting. My wife's like, they're going to get back together in 2 minutes. I'm like, and if they don't, she's like, they're not even real people. They made the whole thing up. So I am. So I was on an airplane once. I was flying to California, and I was taking a JetBlue flight, which I hate because you end up watching too much television. You feel dumb when you get off the plane. So I'm on JetBlue, and I walk in. I had a middle seat. It was a late booking. Okay, and on my left is a guy, and on my right is a woman. Okay, so if you're a guy, you get on JetBlue. What's the first thing you turn on? Especially if there's a guy to your left. ESPN. You know what I'm talking about? Of course. We're grunting at each other. So we watch the game together, and we're going through. But after ESPN, they just repeat the whole thing after so many times. So he's going in, and on my right, there's a lady watching something. And I don't know what it is, but it's another lady talking to another lady in front of a lot of other ladies. There's a lot of, and they're all crying and laughing. I'm like, what is going on that screen? I couldn't put it on, though. There's a guy next to me, you know what I'm talking about? I'm going to see him for 3 more hours of my life. It's too much pride for him. I'm not watching that. So finally he knocks off, he goes to bed. I'm like, fuck, free. I can see what she's watching. So I click over, and she's watching some daytime television show. I don't know what it is, but it's probably like every other daytime television show about a woman interviewing another woman in front of lots and lots of women, and they're all crying and laughing at the same time. And I'm watching this show, and a lady comes on, and I'll never forget this my whole life. And this lady comes on, and she looks like she's just been through the world, she's been through ups and downs, and she's sitting there and she's talking about her life, and she's on the show because she's on a campaign. She wrote a book about substance abuse, And apparently this woman had abused antidepressants and then drugs, alcohol, the whole thing. And now she's on her way back to recovery and she's on her book tour. Okay. So she's telling the story, and the lady who's interviewing her says, when did you, give us a little about your story. And as she says that, the camera pulls out and then like a video comes on about her life. Like the bat mitzvah video that they put on these shows, like about her life. And the video comes on, you see her, and she's a little girl out of Texas. And when she's very little, you see her like with cowboy boots and like the blonde curly hair, and like she wins some like young pageant, and then the next scene shows her and she wins this award at this talent competition, and then from there she goes and she's playing at a bar, and some guy picks her up at a bar, and it's an agent, and he gives her a single, and then that single goes big, and then all of a sudden like that she opens for a band, and before you know it, this woman's life, it's like literally like a rags to riches American dream story. Next thing you know, she's like this big country singer with all these millions of fans in her. She goes platinum and everything is great. And then all of a sudden, like the music changes. And then it's like, there's like one ambulance that comes across the street. There's the same ambulance in every single newscast. As soon as that comes across, like someone's upset. So the thing comes across the street and they find her on the floor of her house, and they rush her in. And apparently she had overdosed on antidepressants, and that was like sort of the beginning of the end. So we pull back from the video, and the interviewer says to her, what happened? She goes, yeah, it was right after my album went platinum that I started taking antidepressants, and then I overdosed on them, and that was the beginning of how I started to abuse every type of substance. I'll never forget this. The interviewer leans back and goes, I'm sorry. Did you say after your album went platinum, you started taking antidepressants? She said, yeah, it was right around that time. She goes, I'm sorry to ask this question, but my viewers will have it. Look at you. You're perfect. You're beautiful. You have the most amazing voice. How many people in the world want to become famous singers? And you had that. You live a storybook life. And at the moment when your album goes platinum, you started taking antidepressants? How could you ever be depressed? And she leans back as if she didn't know the answer. I'm thinking to myself, like, who prepped her for this interview? That was a softball. And she takes like a real long minute, like a TV minute. It's like an hour. And she says, when I was a little girl, all I wanted was to win Miss Junior Texas USA. And it would make me so happy. And as a little girl, I won that. I said, you know what? That's so babyish. What I really want is I want at my school, I got this big, huge competition, and I want to show people that I'm a talented person. I want to win my school's talent competition. I knew that would make me so happy, and I won it. And she goes, the school is so geeky. I want to play like in a club with like adults, and then I would really learn how to be. Then I'll be happy, and then I got a chance to play at a club with adults. She goes, I'm playing in this club for a couple of months. Come on, just the same people every day. All of a sudden, it would be really great if somebody can find me, and then I will get a chance to become somebody. And one day an agent was traveling from New York, and they stopped into my place in Dallas, and they found me. And she goes, you know what? Just being found by an agent's okay. It'll be really great if I can get one song. Like, can you imagine if I had my song being played on the radio? That would make me so happy. And one day my song actually made it, and I was on the radio. She goes, a song is so interesting. Imagine if I was able to open for a real band. And then I opened for a band, and she goes, okay, listen, opening for a band is one thing, but can you imagine if I had an album, my own album? It would be so happy. And then one day I had an album, and she goes, okay, listen, making an album is one thing. A lot of people make albums. Can you imagine if people actually listened to my album? I would be so happy. And one day they called me and said, your album went platinum. And I had everything I ever wanted in life. And I still wasn't happy. So I got sad and then depressed. And it went down from there. You know what the biggest mistake we make about happiness is? We think happiness is an outcome. Then I'll be happy. When I get this, I'll be happy. When I hit this part of my career, I'll be happy. When I get to be this, I'll be happy. When I get to be this, I'll be happy. When people hear me, I'll be happy. We live a life thinking like she does. When I hit this point, then I'll be happy. The reason why we don't walk around right now in our lives ecstatic with life is because we think there's something out there that's going to happen for us that will then make us feel happy. Right? We're little kids and we go to elementary school, we're like, well, this is so geeky. When I go into junior high, I'll be happy. Then you get to junior high, like, when I get into high school, then I'll be happy. You get to high school, like, high school's so lame. When I get into college, I'll be happy. You get to college, like, when I get out of college and into the real world, I'll be happy, right? You get to the real world, this is the real world. When I get back into college, then I'll be happy, right? Then you go, listen, I'm dating. When I can find my man or my wife, then I'll be happy. Then you start the day. And you go, listen, we're married. When we have our first child, then I'll be happy. Then you're like the kids and they got diapers and they're running around. And you know what? When my kids become teenagers, then we'll all be happy, right? Then the kids become teenagers and nobody is ever happy. Right? And then you go, okay, the kids, when they get older and they get to be self-sufficient, they can find their people, then I can be happy. Then they get older, you're like, the truth is I still got a couple more years I got to pay for them. When I retire, then I'll be happy. Then you retire, and you're like, when I get older, then you're sitting around, you turn to your wife and go, honey, remember when we were young? That's when we were happy. We are all sure that you know what it is that's holding us from being happy? It's the next thing. Trust me, no. Even I'm saying it, you're thinking to yourself, Charlie, you don't know me. I get it. This is nice that you're doing this lecture. It's great that you're up here, and it's nice, and it's wonderful. If you knew my life, if you really knew my life, you would know that if I just, this next. When this happens, I'm home free. I'm gonna bounce in my step. I'm gonna do cartwheels on the lawn. Here's the problem. Outcomes never make us happy. We've lived a life and we're always so sure that it is the next outcome down the pike that's going to change my life, and the next outcome comes, and for those first few minutes it feels great. There's some great research if you want to Google it. I don't have time to get into it. Google Dan Gilbert and you'll see his research that he did. I think he's from MIT, on the idea that in the minute you feel great and you go right back to where you were. You know why this happens for? Listen, I love this country, I gotta tell you. We're having a conversation a minute about how, as I get older, I feel like I yearn for Israel more. But I really love America. I was born here. I'm like red, white, and blue. Hopefully one day I'll live in Israel, but right now I'm here. But I love America. I am apple pie, baseball stadiums. When I go to the game and they say, God bless America, I am like, God bless America, small town USA. This is, I don't know, that's how, when you can watch much TV as I did growing up, this is like your whole life. And America is a great place, and America has done things for us that the Jewish people have not seen in its entirety. But we have some problems living here, and I want to give you the biggest one. When you grew up in a Western culture like ours, you know how we all think that the outcome's making us happy? Because we were trained as little kids. We get all of our information not from our schools or our parents. You know where we get it from? Our media. You know what our media tells us every single day? You want to be happy? I'll show you how. Buy, now, buy. No, trust me, buy. And we're like, yes. You will never see a holiday season where they go, kids, your toys work just fine. You know what? You're driving your parents crazy. The truth is, half the Hanukkah presents, you don't even play on the 8th night of Hanukkah. You know what I'm saying? It's broken. Happy holidays from all of us at Mattel. They'll never happen. You're never going to find them going, ladies, your styles, we're making it up in Italy. We have no idea what we're doing. You look great. I don't know, big ties, small ties, big glasses, small glasses. We're bored. It's fine. We're taking the year off. We're going to go to Milan. Just everyone looks great. You're fine. And it's wonderful. We'll see you in 2 years from now. That'll never happen. Every year, it's you buy. And when you live in a world of consumption, you know what happens? You don't build vessels. You know what you build? Funnels. Feels good, it's gone. Feels good, it's gone. Feels good, it's gone. It's gone. What's next? It's going to be next. Soon you get to level, it's next. Buy this now. If you can't afford it, it's okay. Just give me your credit card. You'll pay it back for the next 20 years of your life. It's all right. You don't gotta, today's day and age, you don't have to even afford anything. Back in the old days when I was doing shopping with my mom's like, I'm sorry, honey, we can't afford it. You don't have enough cash in my hand to pay for the thing you want. They're like, it's okay, just put it on plastic and you'll pay back for the rest of your life. It's great, just buy. Who remembers 1996? For everyone in the room, remember 1996? No one under the age of like 20, so I'm talking about. There's a time, for those who are under the age of 20, and this doesn't sound crazy, I'm going to do this for a second. There was a time before the internet. It was crazy. We did nutty things. Your parents don't tell you those days. We didn't have shoes, you know what I'm saying? We milked our own cows. It was nuts. And we were able to go places and not call home and text people. It was nuts. We actually spoke to each other. Weird stuff happened in the old days. Who remembers 1996? 1996 was a very special year. Do you know why? Because 1996 was the beginning of AOL.com. You remember when the internet first came out? Remember those days where you had to dial up? Do you remember that? and all the people in your neighborhood also had it, so it was all busy. You had to find like a number in the Bronx. Remember that? And until you found one, you're like, and then finally you find one like, right? And you're like, we're online! Remember? And your mom came in, you're like, what does that mean? You're like, Mom, you're so old, check this out. It's called a chat room. She's like, what can you do? You're like, I can type something, and someone that's not in this house can respond. Your mother's like, that's impossible. You're like, Mom, hello. And the whole family's like, oh. And then the thing goes, hi. They're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Do you remember that? 1996 is the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the beginning. 1996 is the beginning of everything that everyone ever wanted on a silver platter. 1996 to 2005 was the decade that we had more entertainment and more technology. 2005, we were like through iPhones already. Remember, 10 years we went from, you can put that on your waist, to everybody has it on their waist. In 10 years, the world exploded. Technology, entertainment. Remember the good old days where people just did anything, people made up ideas, they made money, real estate, everything exploded in the country. From 96 to 05, 2008 was a payment for that, but that's a whole other story. In 1996, the American population, 5.82% of the American population was taking antidepressants. Now there are people that need it, and if you do need it, you should be taking it. My mother's a psychologist with a subspecialty in medication. Lots of people that are taking it don't need it. If you are taking it, you should take it. Hashem should bless you. 5.82% of our country was on antidepressants. 1 decade later, the decade of decades, the decade where we can reach the world, the decade where you can get movies on your phone, the decade where we should have been drunk with stuff. The decade where our money and entertainment rose in ways that nobody thought possible. 1 decade later, that number went, what should have been from 5.82 to 0, because we were all so excited about our next gadget. That number went from 5.842% to 11.14%. It doubled in 1 decade. How? Because as we get more stuff, we realize it ain't making me happy. And I got more stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and I just don't get the feeling here. How come I don't know. I waited 6 weeks to get this thing. How come I'm not feeling it? How come I'm not more happy? So what is happiness? How do we get it? So I remember when I was in college, my first class of psychology, my professor told me the following story. It must be true. He told it to me in college. That's not how it works. My first story of psychology class in college, my professor told me the following story. He told me a story about a guy on top of a building about to commit suicide. The guy standing on top of a building, the cops around. He's like, that's it. I'm jumping. I can't live anymore. I'm a Met fan, and it ain't working out for me. And, this is my life, and I can't handle it anymore, and I'm jumping. And the guy's like, well, you're a Met fan. I don't know why you would be a Met fan. But... And everyone's like, please, sir, calm down. Please, sir, calm down. He goes, nothing that you're going to say is going to help me. That's it. And all of a sudden, one woman she was getting her doctorate in psychology, had climbed up to the roof, and she comes out on the ledge, and he goes, what are you doing here? She goes, sir, I'm doing my doctorate on suicide. Can I answer you a couple of questions? He's like, no, this isn't a joke. I'm going to jump. She's like, man, it's going to be, I'll probably get an A. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so fine. He's like, what, are you kidding me? She goes, I just have a couple of questions I can ask you. He's like, do you realize? She's like, yeah, I totally realize it. It's okay. So he goes, what? He goes, I don't have time for this. She goes, listen, whatever's happening next is going to be less important than what's happening now. So why don't you do a good deed on your last good deed of your life and answer a few questions so that I can get my A? He goes, this is stupid. She goes, oh, but jumping is a better idea. He goes, fine, I'll answer. So he goes, what? So she says, can I ask you a question? Can you close your eyes? He goes, this is so dumb. She goes, please? He goes, fine, I'll close my eyes. She goes, can you imagine that you were born blind? Your whole life, you can't see. And you're standing up here, and the altitude comes into your eyes, and all of a sudden your eyes open up. What do? He goes, I don't know. She goes, come on. He goes, I don't know. I look at sunsets. I go watch kids playing. I go to a paint. I go look at a painting. I enjoy, the dawn. That's what I'll do. He goes, okay. Now imagine you're up here and you were deaf. You were born, you couldn't hear. The altitude, wind gets into your ears. What would you do? He goes, I don't know, a musical, a concert. I would listen to birds chirping. And as the story goes, she takes him body part by body part throughout his entire body. And when she's done, she says, because God spared you a life of not having these things, you were given these things as a person, why don't you just go down and enjoy them all the same? What is happiness? What is it? So I had in my life an opportunity that God gave me and I'll always be forever grateful for. I had 6 hours alone with a rabbi named Rabbi Noah Weinberg, who is the dean of Aish HaTorah. I was doing these videos for Aish HaTorah. They just came out, and as a thank you for being involved in the organization, he said, you can spend, when they tell, first I'm like, really, the real Rabbi Noah Weinberg? They do that? Like, sure it's not Rabbi Noah Weinberger, you know what I'm saying? Sure it's not Rabbi Noam Weinberg, Until I got there. And I asked him every question I had, and this was one of the questions we spoke about. He goes, Charlie, do you know what real happiness is? I said, Rabbi, I'm going to tattoo it on my arm if you don't tell me. He says to me, happiness, we think that happiness is a feeling. It's not. Happiness is a skill. It's like running a marathon, or like being a connoisseur of food. It's a skill that a person embarks on through a whole life. And when you're a skilled person, if you're a wine connoisseur, or you're a scotch connoisseur, or if you're in business, and you spend a life in one business, you develop a skill to know what I should do. If you're a teacher, or you're a parent, you develop a skill to know what your kids are doing and not doing, what's right, what's not right. When you're riding a bicycle, you're developing a skill. You get the benefit of that skill, but what it is that you're doing is a skill. No one gets on a bike and says, I hope I feel like I can ride. You get on a bike and say, I'm going to train myself to find the balance in this bicycle. Happiness, he told me, is never coming to you. You can wait your whole life for it. It ain't coming. It's never knocking on your door. Happiness is whether or not you are willing to go out and work for it, to develop a skill for it. I said, Rabbi, what's the skill? He said, the skill is the ability to learn how to take pleasure in what you have and not pain in what you don't. The way life is supposed to be, if everyone ever went like scuba diving, you go into the beach and you're like, what, water? This is so boring. And they give you the thing, you're like, whoa, fish, this is amazing. And then they give you snorkels, you're like, it's only going to get better from here. If the way life is supposed to be, is that we're supposed to go through life and have something. And then when we have it, we're supposed to take the thing that we have and actually go deeper in it. We're supposed to actually enjoy it more. So as we have more stuff, we're supposed to spend our time figuring out how to delve into greater pleasure with what we have. And then you have more and you go deeper and you have more and you go deeper. It's not supposed to be a funnel, we're done, we're out. It's supposed to be that everything that we have, the time that we spend together is time that we deepen our pleasure in it. A couple that's married 60 years is 1,000,000 times better than a couple married 60 minutes. They have 60 years to delve into each other. The person living a life for 100 years has 100 years to use his eyes. Has 100 years to walk the streets. It's not like when I get. The goal of what it means to be happy is to work and work and work to bring your attention to take pleasure in what's in front of you. My professor brought this up first. In psychology, it's called a mental schema. A mental schema is that every one of us has only a certain amount of things that we can bring into our minds at a certain time. We can't bring everything in. That's why, by the way, if you're multitasking, you actually get dumber. They did a study as to your IQ when you multitast. Do you know that? Can I tell you something? When you multitask, your IQ, you ready for this, goes lower than somebody who is smoking marijuana. I'm not kidding. So if you're in work and you're multitasking, if you would have come to work high, you're smarter than you are multitasking at work. So if your mom calls you and you're on the computer, you better get off that computer now. Because our brains can't think of more than one thing. Our brains only have a certain amount of things they can think about. And the goal of life is not to let the world tell you what to think. The goal of life is to take that limited attention, and this is the hardest thing in the world, but this is the key. Great people don't have better lives. Great people work on themselves to take that limited amount of attention that we have. It's about 110 to 126 bits of information per second. That's all we get. Every second. That's all we get. That's why you can't pay attention on the phone and do email at the same time. Your brain can't do two things at once. Great people control that attention. Everybody else lets the world do it. Everybody else says, tell me what I should be happy about. Sell me something. I'm having a good day today and a bad day tomorrow. They walk around with cups with holes in the bottom of them. Great people, they take that attention and they work and they work and they work to learn how to scam life and take pleasure with what they have. And there's times of pain and there's times of pleasure. But Simcha Tamid is when we are able to take pleasure in everything that we have and that we do, always. Happiness is not a choice. It's not an outcome. It's a choice. It's every single day, every single moment. And you know what? We all know people like this. You walk into a beautiful place. You ever take your kids to a Pesach program or on vacation or to camp? There's always that one person that walks in and everything's a problem. Everything's a problem. I can't believe how late it is. It's so hot. I should have stayed home. I can't believe that you're here. What are we doing here? When can we go home? And then the person next to him is having a great day. You think the day is different? It's the attention that's different. Maybe a little bit we can understand why God cares so much about this. Any parent in the room get that feeling when you give so much to your kid and they don't appreciate it at all? You know that feeling you get? Maybe, just maybe, that's what God thinks. I put you in a world that could have made it black and white. I could have made everything tasteless. You know what, 2016 guys? I could have put you in the 40s. Could have. My grandparents are from the 40s, 30s, 20s. I can tell you one thing. I didn't have my life. I hope it only gets better. Hashem should protect our nation. But I got to tell you, when they were my age until now, from 0 to my age, all my grandparents. I come from an interesting background. Part of me, my father comes from Aleppo, Syria. My mother comes from Munkach, which makes me a walking United Nations with better resolutions, right? Everything I eat either has rice in it or margarine. That's my life. I got one grandmother that speaks Arabic. She should rest in peace. Like when you hear like Allah Akbar, I'm like, I know what that means. Inshallah, I know. And I got one grandmother that only speaks Yiddish. I can say I'm hungry in 100 languages. They both have nothing in common except they had terrible childhoods. Terrible. Like horrible. Maybe, just maybe, God puts us down and goes, guys, it's 2016. Are you not doing cartwheels? Maybe God gave us Leeor to make sure that we do cartwheels. How in the world are you not doing cartwheels? There are moments of pain. I don't want to take that away from people. There are times where it's Adar and times where it's Av. But most of us live right here. How do we not do cartwheels? You know why? Because we are so focused on what's next and not what's here now. We think happiness is coming and not something we have to work for. You know, this happened to me once. You know, I speak every once in a while. I should always be zochah. So sometimes I go away for Shabbos. So my kids are great, and they come from a lawyer. So you pass on your lawyer genes, which is very problematic when you give your kids your lawyer genes. So my kids are very good at being lawyers. And whenever they want to get something from me, they just turn that little daddy guilt, they just turn that all the way through. I know it's coming. So I remember one time I was in Boston for Shabbos. I come home, sat at Motzei Shabbos, and my kids are by the door. And they said, oh, Daddy, you're home. We never see you. Are you even our father? I'm like, oh my gosh. They're like, we didn't even recognize you. Oh. And I'm like, what is it that you want, my children? Like, we want to just spend the time with you. We were thinking that tomorrow we can have quality time at Toys R Us all day. I'm like, you care so much about me, it's beautiful. So I go to bed, I'm like, you know what, stop it. And I go to bed, and of course, like I said earlier, I'm the emotional guy. And I'm like tossing, I'm not a good enough father, I'm not home enough, I'm home enough. I'm not home enough, I need to spend more time with them, I'm not fun enough. I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow's not going to be Sunday. My wife's like, just go back to sleep, please. I'm like, tomorrow's not Sunday. I'm like, I wake up the kids at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, kids, today's not Sunday. They're like, well, what is it? I'm like, today is Sunday Fun Day. They're like, yay! I go downstairs, and they come downstairs, and I'm making pancakes. And you know what's amazing, by the way? You ever wonder, like, what happened to that first kid that got pancakes? You know what I'm saying? If your kid would say, Mommy, can I have cake for breakfast? You'd be like, that's disgusting. Let me take the cake and fry it for you, and then pour sugar water on it. You'll have a great... Can you imagine that first kid? I wonder if that first kid would be like, no, Mom, can you eat this for real? She's like, yeah, it's breakfast. You're like, no, for real? I'm like, you are the best mom ever, you know? I'm making pancakes and waffle, just whatever oil I can find and whatever sugar I can find. And I'm making the kids like, Daddy's the best. I'm like, we're just getting started. We go outside and we go to the backyard, and it's not big enough. We go to the park 1, and it's not big enough. We go to park 2, and we're having a great time. And the kids are like, Daddy, you're the best. And it's lunchtime. What do you do on Sunday Fun Day for lunch? You got to go to pizza. We take them to pizza, and they get fries, more oil, just dip it in oil, just suck oil, just pouring oil down. You know what I love so much about us? Not only do we love oil so much, we have one holiday a year where God made a miracle with oil. He didn't eat the oil God. He just lit it. But we're like, oh no, God lit oil. There's a mitzvah to eat oil. Yes. Let's just dip things in oil and say that it's a mitzvah. Don't you love us so much? So I was like, no, I didn't say that. I just lit the oil. We're like, no, we're going to make latkes. We're going to dip the kids in oil, lit the kids. It'll be probably fun. And then we go to the pizza store. And then, what do you have for dessert on Sunday Fun Day? You can't just have pizza, you have dessert. So I take my kids to the ice cream store. And I remember it was in the 5 towns, that's where I live, and I took them to the ice cream store, and it was on Central Avenue, and it was like a bunch of years ago, and that day, they had no more sprinkles in the store. The entire world was in that store. I took bring to my kids. I had my 4 older ones at the time, and I said, okay, no, my kids, chocolate, vanilla. So my kids looked at me and goes, but Daddy, there's no sprinkles. I said, I know, they're out of sprinkles. He's like, out of sprinkles? This is an ice cream store. This is where they create sprinkles. You know that little kid thing? You know that moment you have where your whole life changes? Like, remember that moment when you first saw that your teacher was married? Remember that moment? You're like, who's that man? She's like, that's my husband. You're like, what? You're my teacher. Don't you live under the desk? You remember that moment you had? Don't you hang upside down in the closet? You have a life outside the students? Remember that 2nd grade teacher moment? My husband, my son's like, my child's like, what do you mean? There's no sprinkles? This is where they, I'm like, no, they're probably from China, they imported it, they're probably more complicated than that. He's like, well, I don't like ice cream without sprinkles. I'm like, well, there's no sprinkles. He's like, no sprinkles? This is the worst day ever. And I was like, okay. And I remember going back that night. And I walked into his room. And for the first time in my life, Hashem gave me an insight into something. He gave me insight into a lot of things, but this particular. There's a mission that we learned as a kid growing up. The mission goes, Ezehu Ashir, who is wealthy? Hasamech b'chelko. Now, when you're a kid growing up, how do you learn that Mishnah? Right? Who is wealthy? What the rabbi's going to say? Who is wealthy? Bet on Google early? Like, what are they going to say? Buy low, sell high. Like, what are they're going to say? Everybody wins. Rabbis are like Jewish moms. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you watch a race and the kid comes in like 12th, and everyone's like, his mom's like, yeah, you're number 1. But for 11 people, you're the best, right? That's what a Jewish mom is supposed to do. So the rabbi's like, who's wealthy? I don't know. If you're happy, it's fine. But then finally it hit me. The rabbis were being, as usual, incredible. What is wealth? Money's not real. Money's not even money anymore. In the old days, it was cash or gold. That's just numbers on your account. It's just digits. Big deal. It's worth whatever. We'll see where our economy's going. But either that. But money's not worth anything. Money is only valuable because you can buy things with it. But why would you buy anything? Because you want to be happy. Money is only value that it's a way to make you happy. But if you live your life and you're just a vessel, you can never be happy. Ezehu Ashir. Who is really wealthy? Someone who knows this. Who knows how to be happy. Because if you know how to be happy, then whatever you spend on stays in the vessel. But if you don't, you can have all the money in the world. It just comes right out. So how do we do this? So I want to end with 2 ideas. 2 phrases that I think if you live with these 2 phrases in your life, I think it's going to change it. I try every day. I can tell you the days that I wake up in the morning and try these 2 phrases, my whole life changes. And I want to just introduce the first. Years ago, I was invited to speak at a place called Minsk. I never forget, I got a call. They're like, we'd like you to come speak at Minsk. I said, Minsk, Puerto Rico? They're like, Minsk, Belarus. I'm like, as in like, north? Snow? Cold? I'm like, I'm good. They said, you sure? I'm like, I'm fine. You know, if Minsk moves down south, I'm happy to go with Minsk down the border, but I don't think so. So they sent me a movie called Rocky IV. Everyone ever seen Rocky IV? Okay, Rocky IV is a movie where the American fights the Russian and wins. That was the worst movie to send me. I watch it, I call my go, I'm going to Minsk. They're like, just don't embarrass us. I'm like, oh, it's too late. I get to Minsk, and I'm thinking, I think I'm Rocky now. So I get off the plane, and the guy looks at me and goes, welcome, Charlie. I said, I want you to call me by my Jewish name. They go, what's your Jewish name? I'm like, Rocky. They're like, okay, welcome, Rocky. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. They give me a guy, no one speaks English, I don't speak Russian. They give me a guy who's my translator. He's 6'3", blonde. He literally is Ivan Drago. Literally, it's his brother. I look at him and he goes, hi, my name is Vladimir. I said, Vladimir, why don't I call you by your Jewish name? He goes, what's my Jewish name? I said, Drago. He goes, you be Rocky, I be Drago. I said, I be in heaven for a week. I was punching him. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's okay. I'm listening to like Hearts on Fire all day. It's great. So we're sitting there all day. And by the way, Russia's got really two things going for it. Snow and vodka, right? And you need that much vodka because of that much snow. So we go through the whole week, and it was incredible. Like, I've never been a part of a program. It's called YUSSR, and it's unbelievable. They take these kids, they're dancing with them. I've never been a part of such an incredibly moving program that I had this supposed to be part of. And it's over, the kids go home, and I'm sitting with Drago and having our man moment. You know, the end of the season man moment. You know, LeBron James is crying. It's a man moment. At the end of something, everyone starts crying. So we start crying, and we're drinking way too much vodka because there's still just way too much snow outside. So I turned to him and I said, Drago, do you ever think about being Jewish? As soon as I said that, I'm like, oh no, I'm dead. I'm over. Like KGB's gonna, like, the door's gonna open up. I'm gonna be like the next, like, Pesach story or something, you know. He said, Jewish? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. No, of course. So he goes, Jewish? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, look at us. We're incredible. Like, we're incredible. Like, look at our nation. We came out of nowhere. Look, we're dancing and singing the kotel. You ever think about it? He goes, I thought about it a lot. I'm like, I'm about to convert Drago? Like, I'm done. If that happens, I'm like, God, that's it. It's over. I win. I'm just going right. He goes, but I can't do it. I said, how come? He goes, you people do something. I don't know how you do it, but I can't do what you do. I said, what do we do? He goes, I watch you all day, and I see what you do. I don't know how you do it, but I can't do it. I said, no, we don't do the whole matzah thing. There's no blood in the matzah. It's not real. It's a made-up story. It's a lie. He goes, no. He goes, what are you talking about? I watch you in the day. I watch you in the night. All you people, you do these things. I don't know how you do it. I'm like, Drago, you are really freaking me out. I go, what is it that you see? He goes, you people always do one thing. I go, what is it? He goes, you people always pray. He goes, I wake up in the morning, I see you come out to the bathroom, and you pray. Then you go to the place, all you people, you pray. You have breakfast, not you people. You pray. And then you finish breakfast, not you people. You pray again. Afternoon comes, pray. Nighttime, I think you're tired. You're not tired. You pray. Finally, you go to bed. You don't go to bed. You pray. You know what? Do you ever wonder, why do we pray so much? Doesn't God get it? We think He's Lord of hosts. We get it. And I'll never forget, there was one Simchas Torah where my son was digesting more lollipops than a kid should digest. And at some point, I pulled one away from him and I said, say thank you. He said, Daddy, now you know thank you. I know. This is lollipop 48 of Simchas Torah. Just say thank you. He goes, why? I go, you're not saying thank you for me. There's 400 more where it goes. Like, you're saying thank you for you. Because if you eat lollipops all the time and you don't say thank you, you don't enjoy it. Did you ever wonder that one of the reasons why we daven so much, maybe, just maybe, is because God says, listen, you're going to live a life, and you're going to go through your days, you're never going to stop to actually enjoy it. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to be so important, and you're never going to stop for 1 second to say, I'm alive. We're sitting at a yahrtzeit. We're sitting at a yahrtzeit. You want to know what pleasure is? Pleasure is waking up in the morning. That's pleasure. How many more times do we have to look out into the world and say, I'm going to really take advantage of life right now. Look what happened. For 2 days. Wake up in the morning and God goes, I'm cool. I'm God. I don't have a complex. I don't need your robotics. I don't need you to get the chakras and finish saying a million things in 28 minutes and then there's no tachanun. You guys are the happiest people in the world because you saved 3 minutes. It's like, I'm God. I created the place. I'm fine. You want to know what I really want, God says? Is you to be happy. So before you start your really important day and you're waiting for the thing, the sprinkles to give you pleasure, before you go through your day and go, what? No sprinkles? She said what to me on the phone? I didn't get this thing? We lost? I didn't get into this school? What? No sprinkles? Worst day ever. God goes, before we tell that whole little thing, take a second. And take a deep breath. Pleasure. Don't be frum. I'm not telling you to be religious. I'm telling you to take a deep breath and actually go deep. You're alive. Your family's alive. Your friends. That's pleasure. How many of us have ever woke up in the morning and actually took real pleasure out of that? And God goes, I'm just getting started. And you go to the bathroom. I spent the summer in a place called Camp Hass. Camp Hass is one of the greatest places in the universe. And I went in as a punky, high school, wannabe lawyer kid. They gave me a guy my age who did not have the ability to go to the bathroom by himself. You want to know what embarrassment is? You want to know what life is like? When your whole life surrounds that. I come out of that bathroom. God goes, don't tell me how great I am for me. A drop of pleasure in that you've got a body that works amazing. Pleasure, this isn't a korban. I remember one time I was flying home from Florida to New York on Delta, and they stopped me off in Atlanta, Georgia on Sunday afternoon. Atlanta, Georgia is a hub for Delta. Every flight in the universe goes through that hub on Sunday afternoon. I'll never forget this my whole life. There was a man on one side of the airport, and he was blind. And you know what it's like to be in a terminal? Everyone wants to be there first because everyone has too many bags and you don't want to check it. So everyone's lining up, even though it's like a zone. You're like a zone 16, and you're lining up for the first class just in case she won't realize. And the whole world's out, and there's 100 announcements going on. Boarding 2, boarding 6, and the entire world is going crazy. Everything's on the front. It's pandemonium. And this one amazing man was just trying to find his gate. And he can't. It's impossible. He can't hear where to go. He can't even walk where to go. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching the man just try to find his gate. And I jump out of my chair, and I woke up to the man, and I said, sir, please let me help you go to your gate. And he said to me, son, I don't need your help. I'm fine. He was embarrassed that he needed to be helped. And I watched this blind man try to get through 50 feet. Our eyes... What are we, in 3rd grade? We're so much more sophisticated than caring about our eyes. Our kids do things like this. But us adults, we're so much smarter than to actually go one day and say, oh my gosh, I got eyes. And then if something happens to those eyes, we'll trade all the sprinkles for it. Everything that we want that's not making us happy right now, we will trade all of it for one day with right eyes. But when we have it, who takes pleasure in it? And God goes, listen, I know you're really important, but do me a favor before you start your day. It's just a few brachos. It's not because of me. It's because you got to say thank you. Because you say thank you, maybe, just maybe, you're going to take a step back and go, holy cow, I have eyes. This is amazing. Did you guys get hit by Hurricane Sandy? Did Hurricane Sandy hit the... Because where I lived, I woke up in the morning at night, Hurricane Sandy. There was more water in front of my house. I called 911 and Hurricane Sandy at night. And I said, the water is filling up so fast, I'm scared by morning that I'm not going to be able to get my kids out of the house. And the lady on the phone, 911, said to me, where are you? She looked at the location. She goes, I'm looking at your location right now, sir. I can't send emergency personnel. It's too dangerous. I said, but I have 5 kids. So she told me the 2 words that you never want to hear from a 911 lady. She said, good luck. I'm like, thank you for the luck. I really appreciated that. Remember that morning after Hurricane Sandy? I wanted a ground. My God, just let us walk. The goal of Judaism is to bounce. Somehow Judaism got a little bit too much. Come down, big bad wolf God. goal of Judaism is to be besimcha. And the way we're besimcha is we begin by starting off with 2 words. Thank you for everything. You ever think your parents were sending you to camp? You think camp is free? You ever thank your parents? You ever call your parents and say, Mom? I'm not talking about the kids in the room. I'm talking about the adults in the room. Do you ever call your parents, the 35-year-olds, and say, by the way, I went to camp like 10 years. I didn't realize you did so much for me. Husbands and wives, fathers and children. Every time we say thank you, you know what ends up happening? We enjoy it more. Whether that's up or to each other. The first step of feeling happiness is recognizing that it's a skill. And I get my skill by brachos, and I get my skill by thanking people. Just recently, I pulled my hamstring playing sports. I'll never forget the next morning I woke up. I'm like, holy cow, I never once appreciated what it's like to stand up. And I tried for 2 days to say Zokev Kafufim with a little more kavana. And you know what it was? I gotta tell you, it was pleasure. It was real pleasure. Better than an ice cream, better than a car, better than anything else I'm looking for. But there's 2 more words and with this I'll end. And I will talk about it forever, but I don't have the time. So I'll just tell it to you and you'll get it. We live a life, all of us, at some point our lives went from like 10 miles an hour to like 150 miles an hour. Buzzing and beeping and going all day. And you know what we never do ever anymore? We never slow down. Just slow it down. You ever once sit on a couch anymore and just enjoy the couch? You ever talk to your kids anymore and enjoy a conversation? Do you ever go to shul or eat a meal and taste the food? That's a skill. And when we live our lives, and what is our guiding lights is being grateful to our parents, to our friends, to God, for every little thing. You know what ends up happening? We start to take more and more pleasure in our lives. This isn't for God. This is what we will allow God to do for us. And that vessel starts to be filled with more water and more water and more water and more water. And you know what happens in life? We get hit with a bump and it hurts. But that bump is coming off a filled vessel that we've worked on. If you've got kids in the room, you have to teach them this. This is the most important thing a kid needs to know. More pleasure, more thanks, and more thanks, and more thanks. The vessel builds. And when we slow down and we start being thankful, we start finding pleasure in our lives, in what we have. We go deeper, the vessel gets stronger. And there are days where it is Adar and we feel like everything's connecting and God's behind the scenes and I hit every green light. And there are days where it is Av and we feel like it's just black. But it is coming off someone that is skilled, like a marathon runner or a connoisseur that is skilled in sucking pleasure through this world. That's Simcha Tamid. And maybe, just maybe, Rabbi Nachman says, if you want to litmus test your life, here's a good one. Mitzvah Gedola. This is a big one. Can we be B'Simcha Tamid? Can we slow it down? Can we be grateful? Can we appreciate what we have? Can we take the lessons that God gives us? You were blessed to have a girl in your neighborhood do cartwheels in front of the lawn. You were blessed to have a girl who was young that taught us what it means to live B'Simcha. Can you think of a better legacy that the community can have? Can you think of a better way for the community to remember her on a daily basis than to take the biggest mitzvah in the Torah and to work on the hardest skill in the world in her memory? Why do we need another one? We don't need any more lessons. She should be our guiding light to live a life b'simcha. And every time we go through our days and we start to complain about sprinkles, we should remember her. And the thousands like her throughout the entire world. the thousands of soldiers that die protecting our homeland. We should remember all of them. And can you imagine what a schus it would be for them? That if every time we complained about sprinkles, if every time we thought that the thing on TV is going to make us happy, if every time we were sure that I'm not happy because it's the thing that I'm waiting for, that's why I'm not bouncing in my step, Hashem. That's why I'm on this earth and I'm not living an awesome life. It's because there's an outcome that I want. Can you imagine if we, just one community, said, forget that. That's Western civilization selling me stuff. That's not Judaism. Judaism is, it's here right now. Talmud. And my bracha to us is that we should be zocheh to make her memory live forever. And all of us should be zocheh to live besimcha. And you know what happens when we do? Everybody around us thinks that we're on drugs. Because who lives besimcha anymore? Everyone's like, what are you taking? What are you on? Can I get some of that? They look at you and go, what happened? And one light turns on, like in Hanukkah. One candle, and two candles, and one family, and one kid. And look at this one girl, and the whole place is here. One candle. And maybe this candle starts here, and maybe we start the trend. And we get to a place where Hashem looks down and goes, they finally got it. They're loving the life I give them, and now you think you got this much? Wait for Sunday Fun Day. I'm just beginning, Hashem should say to us. We should be zocheh to see that time. May it come soon in our days. May it be Amen.